Hey, what's up guys? Julio here, back again with another video tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I built this responsive product landing page. And as you can see, I have some nice hover effects on my navigation items as well as my buttons. And of course, the inspiration for this tutorial came from this design I found on dribbble.com. Now, if I go into my inspector, you're going to see how everything just adjusts as I increase or decrease my screen size. And right about that 600 pixel breakpoint, you can see how my navigation switches over to a mobile view. And it doesn't really matter if you click outside of it or the X, it's still going to close. Also, I want to give you guys a preview of my next tutorial, which is a store type of website. And like the previous one, it's also a design I found on dribbble.com. And yeah, this is basically it. If I reload my page, you're gonna see how I have some animations going on here. And if I keep scrolling, everything is just going to load in. So yeah guys, keep an eye out for that. And as usual, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell notifications. But without any further ado, let's get started. So before we get started with this tutorial, I just wanted to point out that I'll be using Font Awesome's CDN for the icons as well as jQueries. And the first thing I'm going to do is open up some header tags, and inside of that I'm going to have a menu toggle div for my menu, and this is going to have an icon with the class of FAS followed by FA bars. And the next thing I'm going to do is create a div for my navigation overlay. And after that, I'm just going to have my nav. Inside of the nav, I'm going to have another icon, which is going to be for my close button, and this is FA times. The next thing that I'm going to do is open up some div tags for my logo. And in there, I'm just going to have an image, which is basically just the Adidas logo. And the next thing after that, it's just like how I'm gonna separate my navigation items, since I'm going to be using Flexbox. So I'm going to have a div with the class of nav middle, and inside of that I'm going to have a UL with an LI and some anchor tags. And I believe this was collection, and I'm just going to copy and paste that a few times. And this was catalog, about us, and blog. And I'm just going to copy and paste this again, and I'm going to change this to nav right, which is going to be all the way to the end. And inside of this, I'm just going to change it, and I'm going to have just clean this up a little bit. And I'm just going to have another icon, and this is going to have the class of FAS, FAA dash I believe it's search. And I'm basically just going to do the same thing all over again, so I don't have to like waste time having to clean them up. And one more time, and this is going to be FAA user, I believe. And this is going to be cart. And still within the link, I'm going to have the word account and cart. So after that, the next thing that I'm going to do is go outside of the nav and create a div with the class of main. And inside of the main div, this is going to be my two-tone background, because I mean, you could easily accomplish this by just using a background image, but I figured I'd just do this within just like the HTML and CSS. And it's going to have a class with a div with the class of tone 1. Inside of that, I'm going to have another div with the class of product info, and it's gonna have an H1, and it's going to be the name of the sneakers. And the next thing is I'm gonna do is have a paragraph tag, and this is going to say new and improved. The next thing is going to be an H2 for my price, and finally my buttons. And for that, I'm just going to have another div with the class of info btns, and I'm just going to have 2 anchor tags. They don't really go anywhere, with the class of btn and discover btn. And this one is going to say discover, and I'm just going to copy and paste that one again, and then change it to add to cart. And now I'm just going to have my other div, which is going to be tone 2, and inside of that, I'm just going to have my sneakers image. Again, going to the images folder, and this is shoe. And yeah guys, I believe this is it for the markup. So before we jump into the CSS, I'm just going to open up my file in the browser, and now I'm just going to minimize this so that we can see what's going on in the background. And as usual, I'm going to reset my margin and padding, and set my border box, my box sizing to border box. Then my HTML document, set my font family to Roboto, which is like a lighter version of the font, and fallback for it. Font size of 10 pixels, and my color is going to be charcoal. Next thing I'm going to target is the header, give it a width of 100% and a height of 100 of the viewport, as well as say position relative. Next thing I'm going to do is just like target all my anchors and get rid of the text decoration, as well as give it that same charcoal color. And next thing I'm going to target is the menu toggle, and I'm going to give it a width of 5 rem. Height's going to be the same. Position is going to be absolute, and a top of 1 rem, and same with the left. I also want to align my items to the center, and justify my content to the center, and I'm also going to give it the cursor pointer, and get rid of the outline, set it to none. And if you're wondering, the reason why I'm using align items and justify oh, actually it's not justify self, it's justify content, it's because later on when we get to that 600 pixel breakpoint, as you can see in my display, I'm gonna set it to none. Then once we hit that breakpoint, I'm gonna set the display property to flex, and I'm also going to give it a C index of 999, just to keep it on top of everything else. The next thing I'm going to do is just add some, increase the font size of my icons, and I'm also going to target the times icon, and this is going to have a font size of 3.5 rem. My bars also have the same size, but you can't see them because I have display none on it. And next thing I'm gonna do is also hide the FA times, give it a display of none, as well as cursor pointer. The next thing, it's the nav itself. So this is going to have a position of relative, display of flex, and my content is going to be I believe I had spaced between line items center, and I had a border bottom of 1 pixel, solid RGBA, and 0.75 because I wanted to be 0.075 because I want it to be really light. The next scene was also setting a Z index on this, and this one is going to be 1000. And now I'm going to target my logo div, give it a width of 5 rem, and a box sizing of border box, no, actually content box, which is the default because I didn't want to my padding to be calculated within the inside this time around. And padding to the left is going to be 3 rem. Now I'm going to be targeting the image within the div, And this is going to be this is just gonna give it a display of block along with a width 100% of its container. So now you're starting to see that it looks a little bit better. So the next thing for me to do is target the UL, and I'm going to give it a height of 8 rem, as well as a list style of none, display of flex, and a font size of 1.6 rems. Now I'm going to target my LIs, and this is going to have a padding of 0 top and bottom, and 3 rem left and right. Create some separation. I'm also going to give it a line height of 8 rem. So this is just going to center it right in the middle. I could have used Flexbox to center everything, but the reason why I'm doing it this way is because when I have my hover effects, I wanted to take up all the available space. And I don't have the background down there yet, but I'm gonna give it a transition all. Well, actually it's just a background, so let's just do that, and that's gonna be 0.5 seconds. And nav ULLI hover, this is going to be the background color, and it's going to be an RGBA of 0, 0, 0, and again that 0.075. And as you can see now, if I hover over my items, I get the hover effect. So the navigation itself is taking shape. We still have to sort out like certain spacing issues, but we'll take care of that shortly. And now I'm going to target the nav right, ULLI, and these are going to have a border on the right of 1 pixel, solid, RGBA 0, 0, 0.075, which again is really light. And now I'm going to target my LI again, because there's certain places where I don't really want the border, and this is going to be the first one. So I'm going to do ULLI nth child 1, and actually for this one I want the border, I just want it on the left. So this is going to be border left 1 pixel, solid, RGBA 0.075. So as you can see now, I have the border on the right. And the next thing I'm going to do is just target again the last child of the LI on my nav right div. And what I'm going to do here is just get rid of the border. I mean, you can't really see it, but just so that it's not there, so I'm going to do border right none. Next thing for me to do is just to add a little bit of margin to my icons. So nav right, and it's gonna give it a margin of margin right of 1 rem. Create a nice separation. Next thing I'm gonna do is again select my icons, nav right eye, and this time I'll select the first child. And the reason for that is because I want to get rid of that margin right, because the spacing over here just doesn't look right. And this is gonna set it to 0, and now it's like equal. And now I'm going to select my main div, and I'm gonna give it a position of absolute, display of flex, and then the top of 0, left of 0, right of 0, and a bottom of 0. And now I'm gonna select my tone 1, and this is going to have a background color of which is like a darker white. It's gonna be F7, F6, and oh, actually F7, forgot the 7 here. And I also wanted to take the whole height of the viewport, and I want the space to be equal between my tone 1 and tone 2, so I'm gonna give it a flex 1, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this over again. And for this one, I'm going to change the background color. So it's going to be F9, E2, BA. And let's change this up. And I'm also going to give it a position of relative. Now I'm going to target my image within the tone 2. And I'm going to give it a width of 100%, as well as a position absolute, because I want to be able to move it wherever I want. And I'm going to give it a top of 50%, a left of -15 rem, and to center this exactly in the middle, we can do transform, translate Y, and this is going to be -50%. So as you can see here, now everything is taking shape. So I just have to work on my tone 1 div again, and now I'm going to select my product info div and give it a display of flex, a width of 90%, a margin of 0, auto to center it in the middle, followed actually I could just like done it over here, but it's still the same thing anyways. Height of 100%, followed by a flex direction of column, because I don't want everything to be in a row. And then I'm going to do align items center and justify content center. So now everything is centered in the middle, vertically and horizontally. The next thing that I'm going to do now is select my H1. So product info H1, give it a font size of 5 rems, font family of fantasy, because I want it to be like bold, stands out, letter spacing of 3 pixels, margin right -3 pixels, and the font weight of 100 just to make it a little bit lighter, as well as a margin bottom of 1 rem. And I'm gonna do a text align of center. Next thing I'm gonna do is select the paragraph. And for this, I'm not gonna do much. I'm only gonna do a font size of 1.8 rem and the margin bottom of 4 rem. Now I'm going to select the H2, do a font size of 2.5 rem and a margin bottom of 5 rem. Let's see how that looks. Looks much better now. And now I'm going to style my buttons. So I'm going to select the BTN class, since these are going to be the styles that will apply to all my buttons. I'm going to give it display of flex, padding of 2 rem, and color is going to be that darker white again. A font size of 1.5 rem, followed by a font weight of 900. And since I'm gonna have some hover effects, I'm also gonna give it a transition of all at half a second. Now I'm going to style my buttons, the info buttons div, and since I want them to display side by side, give it display of flex. Now I'm going to style them individually. So this is going to be the discover button, and this one's just going to have a background color A4, which is like a gray. And yeah, it's only the background color, so I'm gonna do the same for my cart button. Oh, actually, I forgot about when I copy and pasted it, I forgot to change up the name. So cart button, can't even type, and this one is gonna have a black color, but the hex code of 14 11 10. See how that looks? Looks much better. And again, now I'm just gonna give it a hover effect. And for that, I'm going to be selecting both buttons. So discover BTN hover, as well as my cart button. And when I hover over them, I want my box shadow be 3 pixels, 1 rem, with a spread of 2 rem. The RGBA is going to be black with an opacity of let's say 0.3. And I also want to translate it in the Y direction, -1 rem. So basically push it up on hover. See how that looks? Looks much better now. And next thing I'm gonna do now is just work on the responsiveness, because if you take a look now, everything is just gonna fall apart. So yeah, let's work on that. And my first breakpoint, I believe, is it was gonna be 1200 pixels. So let's do at media and screen, and max width of 1200 pixels. And for that, I want to select my tone 2 image and do a left of -8 rem. Next, I want to select my product info H1 and reduce the font size a little bit to 3.5 rem, as well as reduce the margin bottom to 2 rem. Actually, wasn't it the same? Let's see. Oh, actually, it was actually just 1. So I'm increasing it. And next thing I'm going to do is just select the paragraph. And this is going to be font size of 1.5 rem. And again, the margin bottom is going to be equal to that of the H1, so it's going to be 2 rem. Next, it's the product info H2 and font size of 2 rem, and the margin bottom is going to be equal again. Now I'm going to select my buttons, give it a padding of 1.5 rem and a font size of 1 rem. Let's see how that looks. So we shrink it, and yep, once we hit that 1200 breakpoint, the text shrinks a little and the image moves over. So the next breakpoint is going to be at 900 pixels, I believe. So let's just do at media. Actually, it's just like a lot easier if I just like copy and paste this and modify it. So it's going to be 900 pixels. And for this one, what I want to do is actually I also want to be selecting the logo here and move it give it a little bit of padding, and it's gonna be padding left of 1.5 rem, and my nav, oh actually it's just like my nav in general, nav UL, and I'm going to be reducing the height from 8 rem to 5 rem, as well as the font size. Now I'm going to select my LIs, and I'm going to give it a padding, keep the padding at 0 top and bottom, and reduce by left and right 1.5 rem, as well as my line height of 5 rem to keep everything centered. Now I'm going back to my tone 2 image, and I'm gonna reduce it to let's do 5 rem. And yeah, I believe for 900 pixels that was about it. So I'm just going to select all this stuff and delete it because everything's staying the same. Now let's see how that looks. So once we get to 900 pixels, there you go. Everything again goes down in size. So back to the CSS, and my next breakpoint was again 600 pixels, I believe. So let's do that. And at 600 pixels, we don't really need anything with the logo or this. The only thing we're going to be needing here is the image, and reduce that to 2.5 rem, and select my product info paragraph again, and reduce the font size to 1.2 rem, reduce the padding of my BTN to 1 rem, and now I'm going to be working on the nav, since this is going to be where I'm going to be transforming it into the phone version. So I'm going to select the nav. Position is going to be relative. Actually, I already gave it the position of relative, so I don't really need it over here. And what I'm going to do here is display a flex. Border bottom is going to be none, and I'm going to switch the flex direction to column, since I don't want them to be lined up again as they are now. And I'm going to give it a width of 25 rem, height of 100 of the viewport height, background color, it's going to be that dark white again, and I'm going to justify the content to space. Oh wait, let me double check. I think I already have it over here. Oh, it's actually space between, so I do want to switch it over to space evenly. And I also want to be able to push it all the way to the side, so you can't see it until after you toggle the menu. So I'm going to do transform, translate X to negative 25 rem, and I'm also going to give it a transition of the transform property, and this is going to be 0.5 seconds. And now I'm going to target the UL, make a couple changes here, and I'm going to switch the height to initial, list style. Actually, I already did the list style, but I'm going to give this a display of block, since I don't want it to be flexed. A font size of 2. No, actually it's just 2 rem, and then align my text to the center. Now select my LI, and I want to give it a padding of 0. A line height of initial, and a margin bottom of 2 rem. Now the logo, I'm going to remove the padding of that, set it back down to 0. Now I want to select my nav right and get rid of all those borders. set that to border none. And then here it's where I'm gonna show up my menu toggle again. So I'm gonna give it display of flex. And I also want to show my X, so FA times display of block and a position of absolute. Move that to the top 2 rem and to the right 2 rem. And let's see how this. I mean, you're not gonna see anything since I pushed that out, but let me just remove this really quick and see how that looks. So it's 600 pixels. There you have it. That's going to be the nav. Still gonna make some changes, but we're getting there. And the next thing I'm gonna do is create an active state. Well, not an active state, an active class that I'm going to apply using jQuery later on. This is for the nav, and I just wanted to go back. So translate X back to 0. And now I'm going to target my overlay. My overlay, want to give a position of absolute, a width of 0, height of 100 of the viewport height, background color of RGBA, and this is going to be 0.8, a C index of 998, an opacity of 0, and I'm also going to give it a transition opacity of 0. Actually 0.5 seconds. Now I'm going to do overlay that menu open, and this is the class that's going to apply whenever the overlays click, so that it shows up. And again, give it a width of 100% and opacity of 1. Again, let's see how that looks. Oh, actually, you're not going to be able to see anything yet. So what I'm going to do is just go into my script, and I'm going to do a function, and this is the shorthand of this is shorthand for document ready function in jQuery. And then I'm going to select my menu toggle, but first I'm going to do onClick, and I'm going to select my menu toggle as well as my FA times, and on click I want the nav to toggle the class of active. Select the nav here. I'm just gonna copy and paste this really quick, and change this to the overlay, and this to menu open, and gonna copy and paste the whole thing again. Then let's just change this up. It's gonna be the overlay, and what I want to do here is just like remove the class. So nav, remove class active, and overlay. Actually, I could even do this. Makes it a lot better. This remove class of menu open. Seems like I'll have to reload it for some reason. So let's do that again. And as you can see now, everything is working. If I click outside of it, closes it. If I click the X, it closes it. So the only thing left to do is create my next breakpoint, which is at about 400 pixels. So let's do that really quick. And actually at media screen and max width 400 pixels. And for that, I just will target the tone to image again and move it over by 1 rem. Then product info H1, reduce the size 2 rem, and just give it a margin bottom of 1 rem. Then select the paragraph, font size of 1 rem, margin bottom 1 rem, and then the product info H2. It's going to have a margin bottom of 1 as well. And the buttons. So padding 0.7 rem and a font size of 0.8 rem. See how that looks. So once we hit 400, there you go. So yeah, guys, this is pretty much it. Pretty much it. If you have any video suggestions or any questions or concerns, make sure you leave them down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to try to answer them. Also, if you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed and turned on bell notifications. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.